standing in front of the glass case, Mike looked at every gun. The glass case was 4 cabinets pushed together, end to end, well lit, with at least 100 handguns inside. At the far left end were 22 seconds target pistols, 6-round revolvers and clip-fed guns. One had a barrel less than 2 inches long and one had a barrel a foot long. Mike thought about the damage that tiny piece of lead could do. He moved to his right. All in a row. 1 chrome, 1 stainless steel and 1 blued. All 3 small enough to be carried in a pocket. All 3 used a clip and held 5 rounds. His evaluation was that the 25 couldn't do the damage he wanted unless it was very close to the target. He stepped to his right. He looked at the 32 seconds and then the 38 seconds. At the 38 seconds, he thought he was finally at some guns that would and could do what he wanted. He remembered that police used to carry 38 seconds. They must be good at killing, if that was the intent. Displayed next were 15 different 9mm pistols, ranging from revolvers to clip-fed and even single-shot models. They were larger than the .38 seconds and more challenging to conceal. On a lower shelf were holsters, including brown leather waist holsters and both brown and black shoulder holsters. The stopping power of these weapons was evident in their size and shape, with some boasting chrome finishes, while most were blue and 2 were flat black. It had been years since Mike last fired a gun during his time in the Air Force stationed in Germany. Over the past month, he had spent some time reacquainting himself with firearms by reading and studying them. As he paused, his gaze fell upon the Dirty Harry-style long-barreled .44 Magnum, a .357 Magnum, and an Old West-style .40 caliber 6 gun. These were intended for show and intimidation rather than practical use. Mike knew he wanted a 9mm. 10 minutes later, he was back in the Lexus. The gun would be able to be picked up on Friday. He had paid with a credit card. It had the same name on it as the driver's license he had shown. They had cost him $200 from a man in East La. The 9mm was $850, but he would never get the bill. The guy whose name and address were on the license would get the bill after. The rented Lexus took him to a Hilton, downtown. He registered and used a different credit card and name. He asked for and got room 921. He was more interested in the people with reservations in room 821 and the other Hilton in town the next day. As he approached the door to 921, he pulled on some latex gloves. Inside the room, he was careful not to leave any fingerprints. He knew, from watching CSI on television, that he would leave epithelial skin cells in the room. He also knew his DNA was on them. He believed it didn't matter. He rested for a while in the room and then went downstairs for dinner. He had a 4-day growth of beard and 2 rubber devices tucked into his cheeks to help modify how his face looked. His hair was a little longer than his usual businessman's haircut and it was much grayer. At dinner, he watched most of a basketball game he didn't care about and then went to a house phone and called room 821. No one answered. He went back to his room and set up his test. A vacuum and a drill came out of his suitcase, and he drilled a hole through the floor in his room and through the ceiling in the room below. Room 821. The hole was small, 9mm to be exact. He had positioned the hole based on the floor plan of the room he was in, and believing the room below would be the same. When he looked through the hole with the tiny video camera, he saw that the room was exactly as he figured. The hole was right where he wanted it to be, 12 inches back from the edge of the sink in the bathroom. Anyone standing at the sink would be right under the hole. The minuscule amount of dust that fell when he drilled the hole landed on the rug, and if his timing was good would be thrown away by the room cleaning woman hours before the room was used again. He shut off the light in the bathroom and left the camera on. On the monitor, he could watch the bathroom below and he would not be seen. He had a motion sensor on the monitor, and when someone downstairs entered the bathroom, a red light flashed in the bathroom above. Mike went quietly into his bathroom and watched. The man standing at the sink shaved and brushed his teeth. A woman came in and kissed the man. Both were naked. They were in front of the sink for 3.5 minutes. Plenty of time, Mike thought. He shut off the camera and went to bed. In the bed, he thought about his brother and Monica. 3 years prior, they crossed paths in Orlando at a convention. Monica attended as a product representative for a company specializing in software. It was through Shane, Mike's brother, that they initially met. By the end of the conference, Monica found herself working for Shane rather than the software company. A year later, they tied the knot. Over the subsequent 2 years, Monica underwent several physical enhancements, including breast augmentation and facial procedures. She frequently accompanied Shane in public events, especially when deemed beneficial for business by PR personnel. Reflecting on events from 2 weekends prior, Mike recalled being at the La Quinta Inn in Orange County for a business meeting. While waiting in the lobby, he noticed Monica entering the hotel. Moments later, Paul, Shane's business partner, arrived, and Monica linked arms with him, accompanying him to the front desk to check in. Mike watched as they went to the elevators and went up to the 6th floor. During the business appointment, Mike was given access to the reservations computer system, which had 2 minor problems. While he fixed them, he looked at the reservations for rooms on the 6th floor. Paul Samuels didn't have a room there, but Monica Samuels did. He did a search and found that Monica Samuels had been in the hotel 4 times in 2 months. Jack Samuels had been there twice. Monica and Shane's partner were having an affair. Over the next 10 days, he had found they were meeting in various hotels 2 or 3 times a week. Computers are wonderful when you know how to use them. Mike wondered if he should tell Shane. He had dinner with Shane and touched the subject lightly. There had been a news story about a rich guy whose wife was sleeping around. When the guy found out, he divorced her but lost millions in the settlement. Shane said he wouldn't want a divorce from a bitch like that. He'd want her dead. Mike didn't tell Shane what he knew. He finally fell asleep, slept well, and was up before 9 the next day. He packed and covered his activities before he left the hotel for the day. He spread a small packet of powder in the room, skin cells from at least 20 different people. He dropped 10 sets of small hairs in the room as well. Amazing the things one can gather from discarded vacuum bags from a medical building or 3. When Mike was in the elevator, he took the gloves off and pocketed them. He returned to Lexus later that day at the airport. He slept part of that night in Terminal 1, Southwest, and the rest of the night in Terminal 7, United. He changed clothes and bathrooms in both terminals. On Friday, he rented a car and went back to the gun shop and picked up the 9mm purchased with the credit card of Jack Williams of Canoga Park. The gun shop was 80 miles from the Hilton. He checked into the Hilton, room 921, early. He knew the rooms on the 8th floor were cleaned during the 1 o'clock hour every day. The crew doing the 9th floor was done at noon. He checked in, and as soon as he was in the room, drilled the hole just like the test hole he had done the day before. An hour later, he watched the maid collect the rugs and wash down all the surfaces where dust might have landed. He smiled. He positioned himself in the hotel lobby, where he could see the registration desk and not easily be seen. He was behind some plants and using a video camera in the plant pot hooked to his laptop to monitor the desk. He also had a spreadsheet on the computer in case someone looked. At 5:10, he watched as his brother's business partner and his brother's wife checked in. She was holding his arm like she was his trophy wife. Together they had one small suitcase. After they got into the elevator, Mike packed up the laptop and went to his room. He called his brother's office. Naturally, he answered, "Shane Mitchell?" "Hi, Shane. Hey, what's going? I'm going out of town for a while. I have a chance to do some consulting in Chicago for a week and I'm leaving in about half an hour. I'll call you when I get settled. How are things with you?" "Not so hot. I don't have any proof, but I think Monica is cheating." "Any idea with who?" "Not a clue. It's just a suspicion right now." "Where is she?" "Some charity thing down in Orange County." "And what will you be doing tonight?" "I've got an all-nighter here with my tax people. We'll have dinner delivered and work all night." Mike paused. "Hey, about Monica. Call Pete. He's a pie. He can check her out and you'll know what's what." "Yeah, got his number handy. I'll call him now." Mike had the number in front of him. He gave it to Shane and ended the call. He watched television and saw Monica and Paul use the bathroom. The first time it happened, Monica was nude, relieving herself. Even from directly above, her beauty was striking. Mike never quite comprehended what his brother saw in her, besides her impressive physique, but he understood that the choice of spouse wasn't his to make. Once Monica finished, Paul followed suit, and after a while, they both dressed and utilized the mirror. As the lights went out, Mike assumed they retired for the night as well. He activated the motion sensor and returned to watching television. Afterwards, Mike gathered all his additional equipment and stored it in the trunk of his car. Back in the room, he meticulously cleaned, removing any traces of his presence such as epithelial skin cells and hair. He wiped down any surfaces he may have touched, despite wearing gloves throughout the process. All that remained to carry were the video camera and the laptop's computer case. Inside the carrying case was an empty laptop case with just enough room inside for the 9mm. He would be leaving a square piece of thick plastic that he would use to capture all the GSR from the shot. GSR, he learned from television, is gunshot residue. The light flashed. Mike went into the bathroom and prepared the weapon. He watched the monitor and saw Monica, nude, come into the bathroom. She stood at the sink and looked into the mirror. A few seconds passed and Paul stepped up behind her, wrapped her in his arms and held her. Monica turned to face Paul and Mike watched as she came closer to him. Her arms went around his neck and they kissed. Mike pulled the camera from the hole and replaced it with the gun. He made sure the GSR wouldn't get on him. And then he pulled the trigger twice, quickly. The sound was deafening. Mike resisted the urge to look. He packed everything as quickly as he could and walked out into the hallway. He saw no one until he got to the elevator. The first one to stop was going down and was coming from the top floor nightclub. Mike joined the crowd and at the ground floor walked out with the crowd. 10 minutes later, he was on the road. In the late morning, he heard on the radio that millionaire businessman Paul Samuels had been killed and his companion was in serious condition in a hospital in Orange County, California. Mike called his brother on his cell. "Shane, I just heard on the news that Paul Samuels was killed. Is that your Paul Samuels?" "Yes." His voice was flat, empty. "The radio said he was killed and his companion was in serious condition. Is it anyone we know?" "It was Monica." "Yes, Monica. They were screwing in the hotel bathroom and someone shot them. The police think it was a pro. I'm coming back. I'll be back in La tonight." "Damn, I'm sorry, Shane. Is she going to live?" "I don't know. I haven't gone to the hospital yet. If you do, don't drive yourself. This is too emotional a time to do that." "Damn, let me get back. I'll be there as fast as I can without getting arrested for flying low." "Yeah." He hung up. When Mike left the hotel in the night, he had a quarter tank of gas. He filled up in Barstow and paid with his credit card. After talking to Shane, Mike gassed again and headed home. It was revealed that Paul had significant debts to loan sharks and had been deceiving Shane for over a year. However, the police failed to charge anyone for the attack. Monica was discharged from the hospital, and Shane swiftly filed for divorce without encountering any obstacles. In the end, Monica received nothing except a noticeable scar along her cheek and the loss of a breast, as the bullet had passed through it and exited from her hip. It was clear that she wouldn't have made much of a mother anyway. Shane covered the expenses for a 6-month lease on a modest apartment while the divorce proceedings took place. Once the divorce was finalized, Monica's lease was terminated. Shane and Mike never crossed paths with her again after the divorce. There are brothers who can be deceived, but there are also brothers who stand by each other no matter what. Mike wondered, over the years, if he was ever going to tell his brother what really happened. It was on a fishing trip that the two brothers took where Shane surprised Mike by saying, "Was done to perfection." Mike never knew if it was the fish that he cooked or the fish he shot. They just looked at each other and the answer was clear. As they say, blood is thicker than wood. Second story, I cheated on my boyfriend and I never felt so bad. This is a throwaway account. I hope you understand everything. English is not my first language. Like I said in the title, I cheated in my absolutely perfect boyfriend. I don't even know why I did it. I am in military and sometimes we don't see each other for a little, but that was never a problem. This weekend I packed my stuff to drive home and some colleagues asked if I wanted to drink and game with them. I said yes, and one of them is a close friend of mine. He is in a relationship himself, and before that weekend, there was never any sign he was attracted to me. So we gamed, drank, and after a few hours we decided to go home. I knew I couldn't drive anymore, so that said friend drove. He asked if we wanted to go to his place because he knew I have some workers there for my new kitchen, bathroom, etc. I said yes and firstly didn't think any of it. We gamed some more and watched a movie. We were sharing a blanket, and at one point he casually draped his arm around me. It wasn't unusual, given that we've known each other for over 10 years. And over that time, physical contact had become second nature to us. As we continued watching the movie, a scene about piercings came up. He asked about my piercings, curious if they hurt when I got them and if they healed well. I explained, and we ended up chatting about tattoos and piercings. Being close friends, he confided in me that his girlfriend had nipple piercings, but he felt they didn't suit her petite frame. Curious, I asked about the type of piercings she had, and he showed me a photo. We discussed it briefly. And then he asked if I had ever considered getting nipple piercings myself. Given my ample chest, I chuckled, thinking he asked because of that. I replied that I had thought about it but didn't think they would look good on me. He joked that he'd have to see them to give me a professional opinion. We laughed and he asked what size I was wearing. I told him, still giggling a bit. He told me he never saw such big breasts, and asked if he could tell me something. That's when it hit me. I said of course he could, even if I knew what he was going to say. He said he had a huge crush on me and sometimes when he had sex with his girlfriend he thought about me. I said that we need to talk about that when we are both sober. I couldn't finish my sentence because he kissed me. I didn't react at first, but when we locked eyes after the first kiss I couldn't help it. We started to make out and had sex. I stayed until this Monday morning and we had a great time. We had sex 3 times and drove to our barracks together. We just had to report for duty and had free time since then. I drove to my boyfriend's house and then it hit me. I immediately started to cry and regret and I can't get a clear thought. I am so in shock over my own behavior. I feel so bad and I don't think I can ever make up for this. I don't know if I should tell him or what I am supposed to do. It's my boyfriend's birthday today and when I got to his place he wasn't home. I know he would be at work but I wanted to do some preparation for his little party. I am crying and can't stop thinking about what I did. I don't even know why I did it. My boyfriend is absolutely perfect and the man of my dreams. Help me please.